seagulls follow the shore, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. It's the T.N.F. What a team we've got tonight. 4 in the star-studded lineup on the bus. We have got Liam, the punked up warlord, over in Canada. What's happening, Liam? How are you, my man?
Good, man. Good. Really good. Always enjoys my Thursday nights on the bus. Get a chance to interact with the peoples. And I'm feeling freaky tonight. I've got a good panel here. Let's get towed into it.
Judge as well. Mark, how are you, big man? What's happening? People are asking for you all the time in the comments, mate. They want to know, has Mark left the channel and all this nonsense? I'm like, I was like, he was on Monday.
I took a week off. I know people must miss my absolute bonkers opinions on things. I don't know what it is about me, but I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. As long as I'm here, Danny the Green's here. So I'm going anywhere, folks. Tune in for more bullshit part of me.
Brilliant. And Steve O'Mac joins us as well. Steve O'Mac, you were at the game last night, so we'll be getting you and Mark's feedback. But firstly, how are you, mate? You good?
All good, mate. Good to be back. Good team as well. I say it all the time, my spirit animal, the big man, Liam. Always a pleasure. Brightens up my day. Can't wait. Of course, Mark and yourselves. Hopefully,
Nice.
Mark and I are not too negative for folk.
Well, it's amazing how perceptions from the game can be so different to what was in the live chat last night. We'll get stuck into a bit of that as well, because that's what we're here for. Opinions are what that's, you know, absolutely is paramount to any decent debate. So I'm all for that. So we'll look forward to getting stuck in. Obviously, before that, all that good stuff and all that carry on. Hit subscribe if you've not already. 3,400 and something folk have already. They must be all mental. But if you want to join them and hit the subscribe button, it's totally free. Just hit it, just below the screen. And if you want to like the video to get the bus as busy as possible, over 70 odd on it already, by all means do so. David Kelly, Boyce's top looks like the wee thing I used to clean my glasses. I fucking probably got a point. Also, if you want to become a Boise Bus member, like Warren's Team Talk, like Patrick McLaughlin, like Scott Howe, like Paul Diet on his holidays. Hello, Paul and your wife. Nice one. Thanks for tuning in again. Like Stoned Outlaw, Phil McGinley, Jim C, like Pam. It's $1.99 a month. It's totally optional. Don't worry about it if you don't. It's all good. Obviously, if you do want to, it helps the wheels on the bus go round and round. Speaking of which, to help the bus even further, there is a buzz about the place still, because we do still have the shirts on sale. All you have to do, hit me an email, crookedarm@ymail.com. We sold a few this week, to be fair, which is always good. And we are getting closer to that target that I can take to the manufacturer. And the podcast, boys, we are waiting in anticipation. We'll be getting ours very, very soon. And once you see us wearing it, if you're on the fence, I think you'll cave by then. £40 for the shirt, and it's optional postage and packaging, all that sort of carry on. I'm not really fussed. It's up to you. I'm not really doing it for profit. We're just doing it to get folk in a minted Bumblebee kit, because Celtic have been dragging their heels for one for far too long, so we thought we'd step in. Anything else? PikeSports.com, of course. Get a tasty 12.5% discount at the checkout when you put bus 1888, that is it, isn't it? Bus 1888. Is that in the checkout at piesports.com? Feeling peckish, grab a pie for piesports.com. Right, okay. It was another 3 points for Celtic. There's only 10 games left to go. They are running out of time. Doors keep slamming. Doors keep opening for Celtic. We went a goal down. We overcame adversity yet again. It's all good. And we also had, the bonus ball of, and when I say ball, I mean ball bag, of Robbie Nielson greeting and crying yet again, like the Tadger that he is. Liam, I'll start with you, big man. Obviously, you're watching it from overseas. It would have been a nicer kickoff time for you than normal, though, yesterday. That was you got a wee lie in before tuning into your beloved hoops yesterday. How did you find it last night? 3-1 win.
Well, first of all, it's good to watch a game with a pint now and again, It's like, a 12 o'clock or 11:45 kickoff for me. I thought it was good. I thought despite us going a goal down, there was no panic. Felt bad for Tony Ralston. I mean, he was stretching to get that ball. I mean, thought we could hoop snapping, while he was reaching for that ball. I was like, that's him going to be injured again. But it was a great pass by Halliday to score that goal. It was a good goal they scored against us. I mean, was it? Well, if you're going with the binary and the letter of the law, and you're looking at the images that have been shown the last couple of days, that was offside then. For being that binary about it, it was definitely offside. But anyway, I didn't have any fear in the team, and then the 3 goals we scored, goals we scored were absolute crackers. So yeah, I felt really good, and somebody said, yeah, it's great to be a Tim right now. I mean, Haksabanovic coming on and playing the way he played. Absolutely impressed with that wee guy. I think he's I think he's due a start. If Abada's due a start for coming on and scoring a goal, I think Hacksaw, we need to get him on, get him a start for the front, and who knows, we'll get into it later, but maybe Maeda being out, or might be being out, might open up that room to give him a wee chance as well. But I think Celtic played brilliant. I thought Kyogo's goal was great. I loved to see the through balls coming through. Good outfit. I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that game the other day. It was
Mark, it was a challenge last night. It wasn't a stroll in the park. Celtic maybe not at their best first half. I was saying last night, and I think it was Monty who kind of put it in the comments, and I totally agreed with what he was saying. I've never known a season where you just stroll, you breeze through every single game. There's going to be bumps in the road, and it's how you actually tackle that adversity when you're faced with it. And I thought, at the end of the day, despite the first half not being us at our best, we've overcame it again. I think if the game had went on an extra, I said this last night, if the game went on an extra 10, 20 minutes, I'd have been 4, 5, 6. Do you know what I mean? Celtic were only going one way after that. And it's a sign of champions, mate.
The goal that we lost kind of came out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest with you. And Celtic just rallied that wee 5-minute storm, Hearts had after it. And then once he got himself in their shape, Celtic just dominated. I mean, even when Hearts had a wee flurry in the second half, there was nothing to it. I can't remember Joe Hart, T.N.F and all of them picked the ball at the back of the net. Celtic did stroll to it in the end. 3-1 kind of flattered him, but it was a mixture of the odds kind of trying to score the perfect goal, no getting on the end of crosses, maybe making the wrong choices in the final third, the usual stuff. But It was good to see Hacksaw get a run out for Celtic in his goal. I think he was needing a goal because before the World Cup, that guy looked like an utter machine. And then he's kind of dropped off a wee bit because I don't know if he's been injury or he's not been getting game time, but he got a bit more game time yesterday than what he's been getting, and he scored a cracking goal, and I think we'll see the benefits of that. Maida's going to be injured, I think, so Jota's got to slot in, which I don't think will be a bad thing for him getting on the left-hand side. That's his position, we all know that. No decision now whether it's going to be Abada or Haksabanovic, but last night's game proved to me, and I've said it a few times, that anybody wants to focus on the squad depth, and I think the squad depth looks great on paper, but the reality is kind of different, to be honest with you. You start going into your second choice players in certain areas of the park, you can see it's second choice. Albeit a very tough opponent last night, but even though they made changes, I think even if they were full strength, Celtic just always seemed to find a way of winning these matches, and 3-1 against Hearts midweek, I'd take that any day of the week.
I summed up pretty well there, Mark, I would say. Steve-O, it was interesting. One of the things Mark just said that I want to touch upon, because Ange just kind of agreed with Mark on that. You know, Mark saying about the perfect goal. Now, whilst Ange hasn't spoken about a perfect goal, he did actually express his first ever sign of sort of frustration. He said, he used the word twice, and it was a frustration at not finding the runs that Kyogo's making. He says the runs he's making are so intelligent, he's making them all the time. And if there is one aspect I've got of frustration, it's that we're not finding them enough. And I suppose that kind of aligns with what Mark's saying about always trying to score that perfect goal.
Yeah.
And that obviously does kind of tie in with, well, if you're not playing it early for one of those Kyogo goals, then of course that then must mean you are trying to sort of do that passing it into the net thing. It was quite funny to hear the manager saying that, as I actually would have always thought, you know, the getting it to the byline, the cutbacks into the empty goal, the FIFA sort of goal, Steve-O.
Yeah.
I always thought it was kind of Ange's sort of blueprint. So it's quite interesting hearing him sort of mention the fact that he's watching it now and going, how are they not seeing that run that Kyogo's making? He could have even more than 25 goals this season already.
Aye, absolutely. I mean, just to echo basically what the other voice said there, I very much agree with what Mark had said. You know, in terms of the game, I thought the first half was pretty clunky. It was a wee bit disjointed. I was actually sitting there thinking, this is reminiscent of the first half against St Mirren the other week there. There was a couple of players, I'm sure we'll get to, that I thought were given an opportunity that certainly in that first half anyway, in some cases carried into the second, didn't really show it. And I think talking about the runs and the way they were playing, absolutely, John, it's what we need to be doing. We need to be tapping into Kyogo. He's a very intelligent, he's so tactically aware of where he wants to be and make the runs. But I think the delivery of those runs weren't getting much purchase because of the changes that we made in the midfield. And I'll just say it straight out, Hatate, you instantly noticed that he wasn't there. He's the kind of guy that would be finding those intelligent runs. He's got that switched on to do that. Whereas O'Reilly, for example, he was a bit more casual, wanting the ball, a wee bit of time and stuff like that. So the midfield connecting was a wee bit clunky, and it was very highly dependent on that down the wing and across kind of thing. Because I think first half, Kyogo, lucky if he touched the ball a handful of times. So, if we're going to capitalise on what he's doing, we need to be making sure that we're playing into that. But it's also refreshing to hear that the manager is picking up on that, because how many times have we said that? We've brought it up and says, Kyogo makes his runs, he's not getting the ball, people aren't spying it. So maybe we're looking at a more direct, sort of centralised style as well to mix it up. And probably as well, seeing you've got defences sitting that deep, that's maybe the best way to try and do it, is to catch somebody in the flat foot and go in behind rather than just try to flood a ball across into a mobbed box. So, you know what? Bring it on if we're going to start doing that, but we need the players to do it as well. And I think saying Haksabanovic will come into that as well, because he's a very intelligent player and he looks for guys making runs and makes himself available. So I think he might be playing it that bit better than maybe Maeda.
I think that's fair. I think Haksabanovic is the definition of direct. Talking about direct, Tattoo has been in the tattoo face tantrums. He's been dishing out memberships again already in the live chat, apparently. I can't see them on the StreamYard platform I use, so I do apologise that I've not been able to sort of bring them up on the screen, but a big thank you to you doing that tattoo. As always, your generosity is appreciated, and I'm sure whoever's been gifted a membership appreciates it as well. Yeah, I mean, when you think of the impact Haksabanovic had coming off the bench there, Liam, that was him. I think what I like about it, well, I take Mark's point about his form before the year. I kind of touched on that last night. I've got another thought on it as well. I think that goal was really important because it'll be nagging him. Yes, we won the cup. That's all that matters. But those misses will have been nagging away at him. And I think he'll feel like he's got his opportunity again and lightning's not struck twice. He's actually took advantage of an opportunity. It was a half chance, let's be honest. He's just executed it absolutely brilliantly. And I think that just, if there was any sort of doubt, do you know what I mean, or negative vibe he had for, because he'll have standards himself and he'll know those opportunities were gilt-edged at Hampden, do you know what I mean, particularly the last one. And I think it's good that he's reacted to that with the attitude first and foremost, and then the confidence and the ability to curl that perler last night. And that just puts to bed any sort of hangover feeling from those sort of gilt-edged chances at Hampden Park.
I thought he looked very much like Jota on that, the way he took that ball as well. It's like two big strides to get past the defenders in the 18-yard box and then just unleash one in the corner. And that goalie knew nothing about it. It just absolutely had eyes. It went right in the back of the net. I think for him, personally, you see what it's like. The people in this team, the players, it's all about contribution and how they contribute. And you can see that in the goal celebrations as well. You know, as soon as he scored that goal, everybody ran towards him as well. And there was a lot of love shown to the that's a good thing, I know. But, you know, I thought it just looks good. And you can see that people were wanting him to score. Because you're right, you probably do have that hanging over when you get like a big miss like that. And then if you get another one, it compounds. And then, you know, next thing you're losing confidence. So right now, I think we've got a very very confident, unformed player right now. And I think that's good. And so, so it'd be interesting to see how Ange utilises that. Do you still keep him hungry and put him on the bench and think he's like one of the better guys coming on in the 60th minute, which I think Abada is as well. Every time he's given a start, doesn't seem to justify it. All right, so will Haksabanovic be able to take something and do more of a start than Abada? I think it's an interesting thing to see how that plays out this weekend for the team.
I think, Mark, it's a difficult one, Haksabanovic, because rightly or wrongly, I think Ange has got now, I think we've seen as close to what would be the settled first 11. I think that would be Jota and Maeda would be the first choice picks in Ange's mind, right? I'm not trying to speak on his behalf. It's just how it comes across to me. And I think it is a difficult battle to become the regular in those positions. Ask Leo Abada, or Leo Abada's agent, if he's asking for new contracts. I don't believe that, by the way. But, I mean, with 12 goals, 12 assists this season, I mean, he's sitting there going, hello, like, I'm the numbers game here. Do you know what I mean? Get me in there. Haksabanovic is going to be difficult for him, but when he gets opportunities, one thing about him, he looks hungry. He looks up for it. I don't get any vibe of this guy that he's going to be in a cream puff anytime soon for a lack of chances. I think he's accepted. He's very much part of a squad. And when he gets his chances coming on, he's got a bit of hunger. He's got a bit of graft. He's got a bit of swagger. And he fully took his opportunity, didn't he, Mark, last night? That goal was absolutely brilliant. You were at the game. Talk us through it, mate. It was a special goal.
Oh, it was a great goal. I mean, the atmosphere last night, it really was. It was turning a bit nasty because the referee played a big part in the tension in that match. You could have cut the atmosphere like the Blueberry Mist staff of your vape voice. It was really strong last night in the stands, and you could feel it. I think the referee was kind of making that a bit more. I don't know. It's always a nasty game against him. Do you know that? But for the guys to have that composure on the park, it just shows you that they're kind of detached from all the background noise, and to just kill that ball in the tap bag was beautiful. And I think he was needing a goal. I really did. I didn't actually look at it, the point you were making about maybe we needing a goal after his chance against Rangers. He probably have missed a night's sleep because of that. He had a good chance to score a big massive match, which he's not done yet, I don't think. But he's played an outstanding part in Celtic season this year, and he's long may that continue. I thought last night the team itself did get a lift when he came on because he's very aggressive. You see him, he doesn't just go down the line, he cuts in, and he's got the strength which Abada hasn't got to bars past 2 or 3 guys, you know what I mean? And the thing with Abada, I think he's featured in every single match this season. Every match Celtic have played, he's come on. He's played in every single match. maybe that can pacify you a wee bit, because then you're guaranteed game time. All right, if you're only starting 10 games or 12 games, I think he started 10. I think that was his 10th start, I believe. But to have featured in every game this season shows a lot of trust for the manager's point of view. Bear in mind, he's still only 21, if I'm right. So he's not got a God-given right to be a first-team player in a squad of the talent and the size of Celtic. I mean, far from it. There's guys in their mid-20s no found their place in Celtic, yet David Turnbull being one of them. So I think if we can get guys like Haksabanovic. Celtic have got a difficult situation because we need to fill our squad full of players. I don't want squad padding. I want a group of players that are capable of playing in any match and to be of a certain standard. And it's hard to find somebody who's going to be of that standard and maybe be happy to start every third or fourth game or maybe come on as a sub. Haksabanovic seems like he's maybe up for the fight. He's maybe saying to himself, do you know what? The cream always rises to the top. I know in my own mind I'm better than what's in front of me. My game time will come. Whether he's right or wrong, that's to be seen. But I like that in a player. I love arrogance in a player. I don't like cocky arrogance that you kind of seen sometimes on Giakoumakis a wee bit when he felt like he was the unluckiest player on the planet when really he's maybe making the wrong run, or he was maybe doing the wrong thing. I think Haksabanovic, I think he's came for Russia, I believe, and he's probably had a bit of a tough time before joining Celtic, probably his career up in the air a wee bit. So he's kind of took Celtic to his heart. I feel like the guy's going to be here for a couple of seasons, and if we can get a guy who has ability that can stay on the bench, start every 2-3 games, but take advantage of the minutes, then us as Celtic fans are going to see the benefit of that. And Angie's job, that's why he's paid the big bucks, is to find a solution to these guys, any aggravation they've got that they're not getting game time. And I think he seems to have a good way of cope with these kind of players, and Haksabanovic kind of sums up that, I think.
Absolutely fair, Mark. Absolutely fair. Steve, we'll kick off the forum. That sounds over 20 minutes in already. Fucking hell, where does the time go, man? I know, it's mad. The bus is driving too fast. Peter Morrison Boy says, is that a t-shirt or is it a body tattoo? That's right, mate. I got Paisley Patton just fucking tattooed all over me. I'm like, tattoo tantrums, man. No, it's a t-shirt, Peter. Don't worry.
Well, so when you going to let the world see your video of what do you call him again, Gordon Ramsay addressing your wardrobe? That's a fucking brilliant. We need to release that. All the viewers have got the right to see that.
I actually went red.
That's a cracker.
I forgot I'd sent you that. Oh, Boyce's wardrobe nightmares. I'm doing an impression of Gordon Ramsay, but going through my wardrobe is like this, pulling out the worst shirts ever as the starter.
It's actually really good. To be honest with you, that's quite good. Actually, you need to let Abdi see that.
I'll send you it one day when I've got the bollocks. Probably not the now whilst I'm stone cold sober, Mark. I'm not quite in that mind frame. But thanks for reminding me of that, mate. That was good. Big Warrior comes in, Steve. Well, you've had plenty of time to mull over the question now whilst we're talking nonsense. Do you see James Forrest at Celtic next season? Brown thinks he might want to move elsewhere as time is running out on his career. Interesting. I'll just put it straight to you, Steve.
Aye, interesting indeed. I think James Forrest's career at Celtic will be determined by him and him alone. I don't mean that simply by I want the squad, I want to be playing, just where he's at in life. To be honest with you, a couple of injuries and issues and everything aside, he's not really been about too much. He's came in this season, he's shown some real flashes of what he can do. We've spoke before, is he there for another sort of role? Is he there as that sort of almost like a figurehead, a gateway, member of the squad that brings in and shows them the way and all that sort of stuff? If that's the case, for me, I don't think that there's any room for sentiment. You want guys that are established and that will show people what the club's all about and be a good sort of in. But what's got in for like 3 seasons or something left, they just being this guy that comes in and says, big arm ring you on in, but I'll occasionally kick a ball like twice a season or something like that. So I think I personally don't see where he's going to go. I'm sure there'll be people shouting at me saying there'll be teams queuing up to sign him. Would there though? Because the fact that he's not played so much or been featuring too much for us this season. That maybe suggests
what David's saying there, Steve-O. You know,
that could become the norm.
You know, he's on a good wage as well.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? That's what you've got to take into consideration,
We'll see.
Steve-O.
What I'm saying, it will come down to what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I think he's earned the right for the club to treat him in a respectful manner, that they're not just going to sit there and say, we want rid of you up the road, mate. I think they'll sit down with him if he's not going to be featuring on a playing sort of level, and that might be putting him in with the likes, say, McManus and whatnot, and saying, listen, do you want to start building up that repertoire at your side, go through your coaching, be involved with youth, and be, as you say, it's like the guy that's established, taking them by the hand and going through that step process. If he leaves Celtic, I think, if I was to, I'd say his most likely destination would be down with Scott Brown. I don't see, in my opinion, many teams that are going to quote snap your hand off to take James Forrest, just simply based on the last 2 seasons. Injuries are aside. You know, injuries aside, you can't say, oh, he's been unlucky with injury, but take it out of the equation. 2 seasons, he's not really done too much, has he?
James Forrest at Fleetwood Town. Fucking hell, we tear it up there. That'd be quite good to watch. I
just think that if he was going to be leaving Celtic, folk will always give the Aberdeen or Hibs would be a good fit. I don't know. I don't think he'd want to play for our Scottish team. So you've got to look at who's going to take a punt on him. I don't see a championship team down south taking it. So going with somebody like Scott Brown and being that kind of player, maybe gateway into coaching, I think that's more likely. So it's not maybe answered it definitively.
Don't worry about that.
It'll be down to where he's at. And I think there'll be a frank conversation. I don't think in a playing capacity, I don't think he's going to really feature much. So it's where he's at his career and where he wants to go.
It's interesting, Liam, because there's a few other factors as well. I've seen comments coming in about, you know, the UEFA rule for the homegrown players and all that. I mean, he's a handy player to have as part of your European squad because he fits that criteria. Obviously, there's the other side of it where you do need custodians of the club there and all that to sort of educate players what it's all about and that. And Ange might like having 1 or 2 guys that have been around the block a few times. You know, it might not be for what they provide in the park.
Is that worth 30 grand a week though?
That's what I was just about to say. I was like,
you can do that. I love Celtic and all. Tell me what's up for 30 grand.
15 grand, 20 grand a week to be a tour guide is not bad. You know what I mean? Like, but I get that. But either way, they did offer him a 3-year deal, Liam.
I know.
Only it was last summer. Was it in 2022 summer? So I mean, I think in answer to Brown Warrior's question, I get that he might be wanting to play more, but I also get the feeling Jamesy probably quite likes it at Celtic. It's probably his safety blanket too. When you've been there for 13 years and amongst the first team or whatever it's been, 14 years maybe even, like, it's quite a wrench to leave that for something new where you're on a lot, you know, still got a couple of years left and you've maybe accepted your role. And maybe he knows his body as well, knows even if I was, you know, at the top of the pile in terms of the best wingers at the club, I wouldn't be able to fulfill all the games anyway because he'll probably know that he's picking up a lot more and more knocks than what he was before. He'll know his body better than anyone. Do you know what I mean? Right. It happens to folk in their 30s, apparently.
I think another factor as well, boys, is you know, does Mikey Johnson come back for a role, and then does Ange look at that now and say, okay, well, he fits the criteria for homegrown, you know? And so if Mikey Johnson comes back and he shows up in training and he's looked like he's had a good spell, I mean, I don't know, I've not really been following him out in Portugal or think whatever he is, but if he comes back, that could spell the end for Forrest right there. And I like to see Ange with that wee bit of ruthless streak. Much as I love James Forrest, I think he's been great for the club, but I hate when people talk about servants to the club. This guy's been well paid. This guy's been really, really well paid. Great, I'd like to have you on, but I feel like I'm just sponsoring a millionaire's lifestyle at that point by supporting that. I'd like to say, I think I'll come out and say it, I think he's done. I mean, I think we've rinsed everything we possibly could out of James Forrest as a player, and I don't see how he can improve or return to any sort of form that would provide value over any of the other wingers we have at the club right now. And I think that's fair. But also, you got to be bad to be good, and I like that about Ange. He's got a wee bit of can be cruel when he needs to. I mean, Forrest is pal Rogic. He's down the road already, so he could follow him. Maybe he ends up somewhere with Rogic playing in Australia. You never know.
Aye, Mark, what's we'll get the judge's verdict on James Forrest before we move on to the next forum question. Just make it short and I'll come to you with the next question, mate.
Well, I think a winger's form kind of peaks at 28, 29 and it falls off a cliff. That's what happened with James Forrest. His best days are behind him. I agree with Liam. You can't keep him on just for the sake of all-time sake. He's a well-paid individual and he'll get a testimonial and hopefully he goes we have these best wishes because I think he's a legend now.
Fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. So Dahalo comes in, Mark. All the talk is Bernabei, and I knew we'd get to this, so I used to can lick your lips. All the talk is Bernabei. Mark, he's just not good enough. Maybe Big Ange got this one wrong. He says he's just saying, he puts that peace sign at the end. I don't know what that's all about, Dahalo, but crack on, mate. Mark, I'll leave this one with you. Take it away.
I think he's won a raffle, mate. He's one of the worst fitter players I've ever seen at Celtic. I think take Morris Bauer and Diego Laxalt and put them in a category with Bernabei is probably the worst fullbacks I've seen this century for Celtic. He can't defend. His passing's really bad. His discipline's terrible. His positional awareness is terrible. I don't know what he offers. Now and again, you see a nice wee touch film, but if you want nice touches, go to Brazil and look at the beaches and you'll find some guys that can keep you up with a tennis ball with their eyes closed. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for somebody who's going to offer a solid option for Greg Taylor, somebody to push him as far as possible. I've said before, boys, there's no way Ange sat down in a scouting meeting and says, I want to pay £4 million for a second choice left back at Celtic to cover Greg Taylor, and I don't think that was the plan whatsoever. I think in his mind he was going to be starting by now. I think the experiment's over, in my opinion. I think he's maybe started only a handful of games. Bear in mind, this is a guy who came in and before he hit the park, he hit the press for drink driving. They're not going to sort the guy's character, but since he's come into the club, he's missed maybe at 3/4 of the games totally. He's not even on the bench or nothing. That tells me that Ange didn't trust him. Even last night, if he'd been on the bench for the last 2 or 3 games or 4 or 5 games, you were saying to yourself, okay, he's a squad player, but he's been nowhere near the squad. And he only played last night because Greg Taylor got a knock. And if you ask me, I don't think Ange brought him in because he thought he deserved a chance. You remember last year with the Shagger, remember they went to Bolingoli, went to Spain and spent a weekend with a bird and then come back. He was nowhere near the Celtic team, then come in and get a start at Fir Park. You remember that? He came in from nowhere and got a start at Fir Park. Played no too bad, to be honest with you. But then went to his suitcase and sold fake fags at half time. You know what I mean? I just don't know some of these things that happen at Celtic Park. Bernabei for me is just a no-no, mate. When I see his name, my arse just starts to clamp. And I don't know about you boys, but for me, the experiment's over. I think Greg Taylor is the number one, and he is going to be shipped out in the summertime.
Well, that was pretty convincing debate from Mark. It's a total split in the live chat. There's loads coming in defending him, and there's plenty saying, no, wait the now. He's not as bad as Mark's saying. He's a young lad. Takes time to settle. Ridiculous to write him off so early.
7 months.
He's no more Kamara, says David Kelly. Steve-O, you were at the game. You were pretty scathing in your comments as well. You had a wee bit of interaction with the viewers last night in the live chat. I could see out the corner of my eye, my all-watching eye, Steve-O. So give us your take on it. You boys were at the game.
Aye, listen, if you didn't like Mark, you're not going to like me either. They're coming back. Here's my big bin. And here's my dung hammer. He's getting hit with a dung hammer because he's red raw and he's getting chucked in the bin. I'm having none of it, right? Mm-hmm. Very sorry. I know he's limited game time, but what I have seen him, he just looks too disjointed. See, there's certain excuses. We can run through them all till our heart's content. He's young. He's moved to a foreign country. He's adapting. Yada, yada, yada. Firstly, he's 22. See, in football terms, that's no young these days. Not when there's guys that are busting into teams at 17, 16, 18 and so on and hitting the ground running. He's played 125 senior games of football. So he's not exactly fresh into the team and fresh into the way playing football. He's came over here, yes, for a foreign country, but look at other guys that are of similar ages or younger that have came into the team and they've just settled in and got on with it. So far in his Celtic career, I think he's been known for 3 things that I can recall. 1, a good pass against St Johnstone, getting to jail for drink driving, and being on the end of one of the worst VAR decisions in the world. That's some highlight reel for a guy that cost, what, nearly 4 million or just over?
4 million, 3.75.
Last night, I was very scathing, and I pretty much, the eyes don't lie. I was like Mark at the game, and from my vantage point, as we say, I could see everything. So when I watch a game, when I go to the games, I watch differently than you would on telly. Obviously, when you watch telly, you follow the box. That's what it is, right? I like to look at the wider pitch, see where guys are, see what they're doing, see what their positions is, see the runs they're making, how they've got, where they are when they've got the ball, when they've not got the ball. And he was just completely disjointed. When you watch it on TV, he probably looked like he was in the right places. But see, when you watch it from a distance, he was literally all over the place. His positional awareness was non-existent. Yes, he did grow into the game and he had 1 or 2 good passes, but those wee slight glimmers of good work are largely outweighed with the times when he was chasing his own arse or he was getting brushed off the ball or things like that. You watch a highlight reel of him in 2.5 minutes. Oh, look at this! It looks brilliant. Somebody's put a rave tune over the top of it, and he's pinging in belters and making tackles. I could make myself look that worldie, right? I could make myself or any of us look that worldie on a YouTube video.
Steve,
I'm not seeing
I
any
said
of that.
before, mate, I believe genuinely I could get my dad a game in the first division at 63 with a YouTube highlight reel. I could get my dad game for somebody like Dunfermline.
I mean, I'm
So
just
on
not
the
seeing.
tune, it's on the tune.
Listen, I'm all for backing guys, and obviously, I want to see anybody that we've signed, succeed. I know he's only 10 appearances of mixed time for us, but as I say, anytime he's come in, it's never looked completely convincing. What I would say is he's better in the advanced stages, right? He's better. He's probably a failed winger, if we're being honest, which is typical of a lot of South American players that are defenders. They're not really defenders. It's never really a particularly great trait. So they maybe revert back. A failed midfielder becomes a defender. A failed winger becomes a fullback. And I think, to me at least, he very much looks at that because, yeah, sometimes he's a good eye for a pass, but the defensive things is where he's lacking. And what I would say is see if it was Welsh, Taylor, Ralston, for example, that were putting in those, or Forrest, that were putting in the performances that he has put in his limited game time, they'd be getting set on fire online. But because for some reason he's quite new to the team and we've paid good money for him, we've got to get down this, give him a chance, he's learning. When do we stop coming away with this? I said Bernabei needs to have his Giacomakis time. When he comes in, he makes an instant impact. And for me, at least at this moment in time, he's not done it. And I think he's got to the end of the pre-season to really show something, or he could find himself back out on loan or something like that. He's probably online anyway, looking for something to do, won't he? He's a bit. He seems like the personality. He's a bit all over the place, but nah, not convinced. I'm sorry at this moment in time. Happy to be proven wrong, but nah, I'm not feeling it.
Well, it is a big split in the camp. There's a lot of Scott Howe's getting very defensive of Big Bernabei in the comments there, and nothing wrong with that, by the way. Obviously, everyone wants him to do well. That's the fact of the matter is the two boys were at the team, and that was their takeaway from it. I was obviously in the WhatsApp group chat, and I was watching the game not thinking as strongly as what it used to when I was watching it. Again, as Steve-O's points out, 2 different points of view when you're watching the game. And then I was surprised in the live chat how many folk thought Bernabei actually had a shit hot game last night, which the chat was full of, to be honest with you, last night when I was watching the comments fly in, and that confused me even more. I thought, I actually don't even know what I'm watching anymore. I seen it as a game of two halves. I thought, to be honest with you, Liam, he was the first half. I thought I'll go as far as saying I thought he was a bit all over the place and no quality on the ball. Second half, I thought he was jamming. I thought he was effective when he got the ball. I thought his positional play looked a lot better. I know we're looking for more than just being better than a terrible first half. I get that. But everything's building blocks as well. How he's been utilised, Liam, right now. I think Mark touched on it there. You know, players coming in for the cold. That doesn't help him either. It's not like it's been a gradual sort of integration into the first team that we've seen from him. You know, getting the odd 10 minutes coming on for Greg Taylor when and how often have we been 4-5-0 up with 10 minutes to go? Loads of times. Often then he's not even been in the squad. So it does seem like when he's getting his opportunity, it's a wee bit from the cold, Liam. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think that's always conducive to seeing then the best bits of Bernabei, if you like. And I suppose, having said all that, it doesn't surprise me it took him, in my mind anyway, 45 minutes to sort of settle into the game. And that's kind of how I viewed it. What about yourself?
I thought his first 45 minutes was poor. I thought his second 45 minutes was quite good. I don't agree with the criticism. I mean, I think if you look at Greg Taylor had a year and a half to bed into this club, and he came from Kilmarnock. You know, so I mean, Ralston had a slow start to the game as well, and I think it's really hard to get a player to come in, especially at the pace we play at, and knowing that every game is important as well, to come in and immediately stamp your place in the team. What I like about Bernabei is I like the way he takes the ball in close. So if you watch some of his play, when he was out in the touchline, it was bodies there. Everybody was pushing everybody to the byline, and he managed to still skip through and get past the tackles and get that ball up the line. I thought he put some great balls up the line to both Maeda and Jota when he was on. I think you just got to give him more of a chance. He's not really had any continuity whatsoever. And we've seen what's happened when you give guys like, Giacomakis didn't have a flying start. He came in. He needed a bit of continuity. He
was pretty much written off. He was written off after that penalty miss.
Ralston got a bit of continuity. When JJ was injured when he first came to us as well, he had a knock and he couldn't play for the first couple of games. And so Ralston ended up getting a good, and he eventually got into a game. I think we just have to be patient. I think we need time. I think we're overreacting. I think there's a good player in there. I agree with some of the people on here that we spent a lot of money for him. We want to see return. We want to see value. But I think you're going to have to be patient with it, and let's get him in a couple of games, because I still see flaws in Greg Taylor's game as well, the positioning and that.
Oh, I know that. We know you do, big man.
It's like, okay, right, he's got. Give Greg Taylor a lot more grace. I still think he passes back a lot of times where he lacks the bravery to move forward. I still think when it comes to a physical and a hard game, Greg Taylor just shucks away. So yeah, I want to see him getting a chance, and I like to see him given the same chance that we've given to some of the other players. And if it doesn't work out, then we'll know. But at least he's had some sort of continuity, and we can make a proper assessment. Right now, I think it's just casting, stuff onto him right now, and you want to see him as being a really bad player. Yeah, we'll look at that. But if you look at his stats and that, I hate saying that, but in the second half, he was quite good. He made a lot of passes, made a lot of good through balls. And same with the amount of same guys were giving Ralston criticism last night as well. And I look at some of the through balls that Ralston put through. He put two.
Oh, the one for Kyogo was a peach.
Pass, which we have done. And both times, who was on the end of them? Who was the one making the movement? And who saw that movement? Tony Ralston. I still think Johnson's a great player. I'm just happy to have, I think Ralston's an excellent deputy. I want to see, but he's been given games, and I want to see, if Bernabei gets a few more games, let's see what he can do.
See, sorry to finish off on that there. See what you're saying. That's what, aside from me, my opinion on him, or what I think in general, you're hitting exactly the sort of second side of my point is, see all this going forward stuff. There's no doubt that he is good at it. But it's the basics that I've got the problem with. If you're a defender, you have to defend. And what I would say is at this moment in time, if I could compare them, obviously it's apples and oranges. Tavernier, really good at going forward, not so good at defending, and that's what I'm seeing with him. He needs to work on the basics. He's bread and butter of defence first.
Fair enough. We will move on. We will go to Scott Cameron's point. And Mark, I'll come to you straight away, big man. To the panel, do you think Robbie Nielson's comments last night about red cards and VAR are aimed at the officials for the weekend so his team will get a decision? I mean, I think there is a wee bit of that. I'll be honest, I'll answer it straight away, Scott. I think that's 100%. I think he's as subtle as a car crash, Robbie Nielson, in fact. I think he is a car crash. And when he's dishing all that, that's his subtle way of trying to play mind games so that he maybe gets a wee bit of favouritism come the weekend. He's an unbelievable post-match interviewer or interviewee. His take on how football matches where he gets outplayed every time being down to refereeing decisions is quite remarkable. And fair play to him for sticking by his guns. He doesn't back down. He doubles down every single time, Mark. It's sometimes, I mean, I think people get wound up by him. The most hated manager in the league and all this. I laugh. I think it's funny listening to a guy with mere excuses about referees and I mean, if that was Neil Lennon, for example, there'd be a parody account set up on Twitter with all these wee clips, parody Neil Lennon, do you know what I mean? With all these wee clips, the amount of excuses he finds, particularly when he's playing against us. When he wants to give us praise, it's through gritted teeth, even though, again, the scorelines don't lie. The amount of goals we're able to put past his team is a joke. He's talking about decapitation and all this shite, Mark. Honestly, I think you listen to this guy. He needs to stop being so greeting-faced after. He needs to learn how to lose with a bit of dignity. He needs to get used to losing to Celtic as well. He's about to get beat again this weekend.
Well, we got 3 red cards at Celtic Park in 2022, and there was nobody playing at Celtic Park dressed up as the Mary Queen of Scots, mate. So I don't know what he's talking about. He's just always got a negative view on Celtic. Could be 4, 5, 6-0. It doesn't matter how we beat his team. He's always got a spin on it that doesn't make sense. I mean, some of the post-match and you go off and you go, right, you can't say it in bad today, and then you'll hear him saying something about how the referee was against him. I mean, for minute one, that referee facilitated Hearts' game plan, which was to waste time, be aggressive, try and break somebody's leg. And if you can't do that, just make yourself ugly. And that's what they did. And they got a goal out of nothing. They didn't deserve anything out of the match. And for his comments to be suggesting that the game swung in any shape or manner to be honest with you, I didn't think it was even a red card. I mean, see that aside, he's forgetting the fact that his team scored a goal that got checked with VAR. It was fucking offside. We lost a goal. Jota scored, I think it might have been at Fir Park. I might be wrong here. We scored a goal that was the exact same scenario. It was the line, and both lines were like a hairline away from each other, but technically it was still offside. Me personally, I think we've got to give the goals, but he's always got an excuse. I mean, and the referees last night, just quickly on the referees, I mean, do you know, see, in the best case scenario, the linesmen on each side chopped off the first goal and second goal and done 2 teams out of a goal each, right? That's the best case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, they were just blatant cheating, right? And do you know what? That's not even mentioned when Andy Walker's talking about how bad the refereeing standard is in this country. And again, it wasn't even mentioned this morning. See if Robbie Neilson would do his job and speak about the officiating or what the word is in this country, in this country in general, we would probably get a better parity when it comes to the refereeing standard, but we're not getting it. And as I say, there was nobody getting their head chopped off last year when we got 3 red cards. We've also had 3 penalties last year, I think, at Celtic Park. We're constantly seeing games where Celtic are refereed to a different standard for anybody else. And do you know what? There's only 2 teams in this country that VAR is out to benefit, and that's Rangers and the other team who Celtic's playing. So for him to come out with a whopper like that, it just suits him. As you said, there should be a parody account of Nielsen's best bits, because the guy just talks the biggest heap of shite I've ever heard in my life.
Mark,
No.
there's a few people in the world that can say certain words really well. You say the word shite absolutely expertly, mate. The biggest load of shite. That's a skill, mate. Never lose that, Judge. Steve, I'll come to you on it because, I mean, I do generally find it almost parody. I find it funny. I don't have any sympathy for him. I think he's a desperate man at times when he pulls these things out. And what you get with desperate men is desperate quotes, desperate measures. And I just think sometimes it's like someone needs to just put their wee arm around him, cuddle him in, sing him a wee lullaby, get him to sleep soundly one night, do you know what I mean, without him having a wee temper tantrum, do you know what I mean? Because he needs to pull his wee angry pants back up and get a grip, because it is embarrassing the way he deflects every single time. The best team in the country beat his team. It should come as no shock, Robbie. This is no like big surprise here. Do you know what I mean? You're lucky it was only 3 you'd have to. I just think at times it's like the excuses, they go on and on. I feel like it would be giving him too much kudos to say it winds me up. As opposed to that, I'm just like, we're all pointing and laughing at you. Every time it comes to your post-match, I'm like, rubbing my hands going, well, there's my next fucking episode sorted. Thank you, Robbie.
Do you know, the thing is, he's a total joke figure. I've never known a guy that, I don't know, he must have some sort of split personality or something. He's genuinely unhinged. He comes out with some mental stuff. Like, as you say, it's like a highlight reel of madness. It's like the ramblings of a guy that's losing his, he's slowly deteriorating mentally, and he's drinking himself into a hole and just saying stuff. Or, he's the kind of guy that sits there at 4 a.m, texts his ex-missus, going, yeah, I love you, and all that. That's kind of guy. You know what I mean? He's absolutely off his nut. Like, there's no other way of putting it. He's so bizarre. He's mad as a box of frogs. And some of the stuff he comes away with is just, like, even his fans, surely they're no laughing with him. They must be laughing at him and all. Because, like, oh, you need a decapitation. Like, what are you talking about?
Do you think they roll rises in, Steve-O? Do you think they just go,
because it's no, do you know why? Because it's no witty. It's genuinely, he thinks he's being witty. But there's no quick turn of phrase, and it's no, it's no witty, and it's no sharp. It's he's thought about that before he goes in. So I'm going to say this. That's what I'm going to say. And
that's the way that's what he's written, did Steve-O?
The way he delivers it, he's probably sitting there thinking about it and like, that'll sound fucking brilliant. He'll love that when I say that. But he just comes across like an idiot. and I see what you're saying. Is he teeing up son for the weekend? I don't know. I don't even think he's smart enough to think ahead towards the weekend. I think he's just living his own wee world at a time. Do you know what I mean? But see, saying if you need this to get sent off, we've had red cards, but we live in a VAR world here where, maybe I'm wrong on this one, but there's been a lot of things referred to VAR that have went largely against Celtic at Parkhead. So, if anything, you'd be like, well, if they went to VAR, chances are it was going to be a red card, because that tends to be the way their decisions go. So he's got no substance in it whatsoever. He's just, as I say, it's the ramblings of a man on the edge that's having a slow breakdown and covering his own deficiencies and his team's own deficiencies, with pointing the finger at other people and trying to do it in a way that's as funny as getting your kneecaps drilled. He's useless, man. Honestly, I would probably rather get decapitated and have to sit through one of his press conferences. He's brutal. He's man. And do you know what? I love it. I just love it. See, whenever he gets his team get roundly beat, and you have to listen to his madness, as much as it irritates you, because he's seething. You just take a wee bit more pleasure out of it, because his head's burning.
Liam, what is going on with this guy? When he plays Celtic, I think as Phil's absolutely says, he does seem to take an issue when he's losing to us. When the other mob beat them, he seems to just take it on the chin. And this is after games where they've had big decisions go against them. I think he's got a point there. He doesn't like losing to Celtic, but he should be used to it by now, Liam, no?
I should definitely be used to it. I mean, as a player and a manager, I mean, he was always on his arse, right?
He was the worst player ever. Had to get square on every time the ball came near him. Mm-hmm. The worst coordination ever. Always got square on. Remember he wanted to be like mini Stephen Presley? Have you got a headband on, Stephen Presley? Aye, because I've injured my head. I'll just wear one anyway. It's like, he greys hair like him in that. It's like, can I grip you?
Oh, I know he's like a character at the Viz or something like that, you know, like Manger, the angry manager or something, you know. He's always fucking bealing. But, you know, that whole thing about a decapitation, I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? There's nothing in that. You know, like you watch it, like you see it, if you see it as a still photograph, it looks good because you think Bernabei's running in at full speed, but he was doing the splits. He was like a baby giraffe on ice there when he just went in, and his foot stop him. But there was no force, there was no measuring that. You know, I think Robbie Neilson used to have a look at himself. I mean, 7 minutes, that was him stalling for time, telling Andy Halliday to slow it down. 7 minutes. Should look at that. The other thing as well, I think he sends a team out to boot us, and I think that's part of deflection. There's a number of times where we've played against Hearts where some of the tackles have been absolutely shocking. And for them to be shouting at the referee for VAR, because I wasn't at the game, but I could hear it on the telly. You could hear it was all the Hearts manager and players shouting at the referee, red card, check that for VAR. They're doing a wee Dougie Ross on the side, right? And they did it. And it's how...
wee Dougie Ross.
Red card.
One time, and the referee ran past him and played on. Both of them are lying down in the park. I don't know if it was head knocks or what, but 2 Celtic players down. And the referee practically had to hurdle one to get past just so he could keep the ball playing because they were attacking their goal. But it seems like, you know, Andy Halliday, I mean, that's another wee prick. He seems to have some sort of referees and the linesman now as well. You know, he's up there. He's replacing Bobby Madden in the celebrity football, you know, one of us stakes, which he seems to have a non-stop communication. He's been able to stop the game when he wants, you know, tell the ref what the referee's supposed to do. And somehow when we listened to this wee hair plug, did he, you know? And just
well said, Liam. Well said, mate.
You're on fire, Liam. I'll come back to you, Liam. We'll go round the clock the other way around for a wee change. I've got another question coming for Kaiser, but I'm remembering that he's doing a wee Dougie Ross. He's doing a wee Dougie Ross. I'm bumping that. That's brilliant. What do the lads think of Holy Iwata? Obviously talking about Iwata. What have you made of what you've seen of him so far? I liked what I saw last night. I'll come to you, Liam.
I thought he was good. I mean, you want to see more of him, right? He just looked so calm, so composed on the ball. I haven't do anything like outrageous, like highlight reel stuff like that. But he might not be that type of player. He might just be one of the engine room type guys that just keeps everything clicking and keeps the pace going. So, as far as first impressions go, I like the look of him. I mean, when his Ange got it wrong for that side of the planet, that's a guy he knows.
Totally, Liam. Totally, Steve. Well, the thing is with Iwata, I think he's getting integrated at the pace you would have expected guys coming from the J League originally to be. The fact is he's coming now to the squad when it's now sort of in a real sort of stage of its evolution now where it's quite settled, the first team. So he's getting used, he's getting sort of drip fed into the team now, which is probably the way ideally, if you were bringing over Maeda and Hatate in January last year, they would have been utilised. The fact was, it was a needs-must situation. There was a title on the line, and the squad didn't have the depth it does just now. So the options weren't always there just to go, oh, Hatate's, you know, he's knackered, but we'll just keep him on the bench, give him the odd 10, 15 minutes. So it's not because it's a slight whatsoever on Iwata, I think, that Iwata, that he's not getting the game time right now. I think it's purely because the squad depth's there to afford him to be sort of dripped in at the pace he is. But I did like what I seen last night. That was the closest look I feel like I've had of him so far since he's joined in. I've got to say, I was quite impressed by him.
You know, you're totally right about in terms of him getting his game time and get drip fed in. But it's also to do with the fact that we've got a plethora of riches in that sort of midfield. So the need to drop him in is less. Do you know what I mean? So the other guys we desperately needed to bring in because we just needed new, fresh faces. But we're so overcrowded in the midfield, it makes sense to bring him in. But when he came on, he came on last night and he looked very assured, he looked tidy, composed. He looks like he's got a good physical engine on him. He gets about the park a bit. looking at him sort of early, I would sort of say he's maybe like a Moy, but more mobile. You know, he can get around more, he's strong, he's good at holding off, he finds himself in positions, come looking for the ball, you know, and as you say, he just ticks over. So I think he'll be certainly more akin maybe to a Callum McGregor than say a Hatate. You know, obviously, not to more game time, we'll soon time will tell, we'll see what he can do. But I think he's going to be more industrious than the guy that's threading the fancy passes, who's spraying the balls about. But that's, you know, there's certainly a place for that. He's got good size as well, good stature, sort of big unit. And we've always spoken about getting into these European games. I think that's a brilliant option that we need because, you know, if you're going to play with sort of two more enforcer or sort of deeper line midfielders, if you're going to bring Cal McGregor into that hole, you want somebody like him beside him for that wee extra layer of protection in the centre, but also in front of the defenders. And I think he's definitely going to fit that bill. You know, at times he was coming back to Hearts weren't causing too much hassle. He was coming back when needed, picking up the ball and starting again. So no, listen, he comes over as player of the year. He's not going to have for nothing, is he? No. So, you know, that's going to start to come round, but certainly it looks like a good physical and industrious player, and that's something that we need, definitely. So early signs are good. I
agree with that, Mark. You need to remember as well, only Maeda and Iwata were players that played under Ange at Yokohama. No one else has came for Yokohama, so this guy's not just the J-League Player of the Year, but someone Ange knows firsthand. That's key as well.
I think the players that Ange has brought in and he knows pretty well are very identical to the way he wants to play. So they will fit in and they will play the system that he wants them to play. Liam's fucked off. He said enough. I don't blame him, to be honest with you. No, see, the best kind of compliment I can give the guy is that I've not noticed him. He's come into the park and he's not looked out of place. He's been seamless when he's come on, you know what I mean? He's getting into a midfield that's well established. It's probably one of the most established areas of our park is the midfield. That front, that midfield three is very established just now. He's come in and he's getting very limited game time. He's not looked out of place. He's not looked rusty. He's just come in and he's just actually improved some of the matches that he's come in. And as I said last week, if the game time he got in a big match against Rangers in a cup final, that shows you all you need to know about Ange. Ange trusts him. We've seen the players that Ange doesn't trust, and we all know them, we can bring them off. But when you're getting that kind of game time, I think there's a player there, mate, and I'm looking forward to seeing this guy in season 2, to be honest.
I totally agree with that. Right, we will call it there. It has been a good, fun Thursday night forum. It's just been an hour, lads. An hour's flown in. Liam's just got to sell a can. He's like, I'm ready for another hour. We will call it there because some of us, you know, have to be up at the crack of dawn for work and all that carry on. Remember that with the bus. We do this almost on a daily basis. Every one of us has full-time jobs. Do you know what I mean? It's just a wee bit of fun that we do on top of it, and all your support means the absolute world to us. None of us are professionals. None of us are pundits. None of us get paid. We're just all here talking for our love of Celtic, and that is what it's all about on the Boise bus. And it wouldn't be the same without all the interaction from you guys in the passenger seats, because today it's been brilliant debate yet again. Loads of conflicting views, which we're all about here. No one gets judged for having, sorry to use your words, copyright, but no one gets judged for having different views. We're all for it. That's what we want on the bus. Everyone have a brilliant night, whatever it is you're up to. And it's the weekend tomorrow. Bit of nostalgia. Bring it on.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. You know, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.